Keep the moves on tuck. I know it's all love. Everything good. Keep the vibes on crush. I know it's all good. Know it's all love. Know it's all love.
We are back. We are live. Episode 7. We are here. I'm here with my beautiful wife,
Destiny, and I'm here with my husband,
Keon. What's up, y'all? We are here for episode 7, and today's episode is the intense fellowships.
Yes, so if you're new here, we call arguments intense fellowship. We don't like to say argument, it just, has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So we like to say intense fellowship, and we call it intense because we know, like, when you are in that argument moment, it can get a little spicy. And we have experienced some, but I think that we have learned through our time together how to properly argue. Because I think that...
let's say handle conflict.
Amen. How to properly handle conflict. Because I know I, for one, came into the marriage very much, I'm one of 5 kids, all that good jazz. I am used to yelling to get your point across, to be heard. And then when we're done yelling, we say sorry, and then we're friends again. Keon, you want to share your point of view, mister?
No, you was okay. Go ahead.
He is an only child, and
shout out all my only children.
And not much yelling takes place with him, you know? And I had to learn that yelling is not the only way to argue. That's not the only way to communicate when you're upset. You can share your emotions without having to raise your voice. And
can I just take some time to say acknowledge your growth?
Wow.
Wow.
I received
Here
it.
we are.
Thank
Who
you.
would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it?
I don't know. Look at us.
Look at us. So here we are. And I think that even though I was the one who had like tone issues, I think that Keon can also speak to, like, where he has grown to. And I feel like you know where you have as well.
Of course. Before we get into all the fun, I definitely want to take the time out to acknowledge all of the growth that we've experienced, all of the love and support. Y'all have been amazing. Fun fact, we joked about it when we first launched the podcast. I texted Destiny, we was at 373 followers. Destiny said, I think we're going to get to 500 by Monday. I'm like, I don't know about that. We looked up and we was at
we've grown on Instagram
4,000.
So much, and we thank y'all for commenting and subscribing. But if you're new, please be sure to do the same thing, comment, and subscribe. We've grown insurmountably on Instagram, but we want to do the same thing right here on YouTube. So if you like what you're seeing, click that like button below, and subscribe. And we truly, truly appreciate you in advance.
Make sure you connect with us, engage with us, shoot us messages. We want to make sure we build a relationship with you all, because this is what this is about, just aiming to advance the kingdom of God through marriage and healthy couples.
Yep.
All right, here we are. Now we are talking through season 2, episode 7, the intense fellowships. Now, I want to kind of start off with this. Mm-hmm. Let's start off with the beginning of our marriage. Mm-hmm. Now, did you feel that dating the intense fellowships were different versus marriage? Did you feel like they've increased since we've been married? Did they decrease? Like, kind of talk through like the transition from dating to marriage, and what's your thoughts on that?
So the intense fellowship definitely increased since being married. Would you agree? I feel like when we were dating,
we ain't argued.
I honestly feel like we argued, which is, if you're engaged, listen up.
Yeah.
I feel like we honestly got into our most intense fellowships while dating after we got engaged.
Yeah. The enemy was busy.
The wedding planning process, I feel like that was like the highest time.
Turned up.
But prior to that, we would have like little small things that we were able to get over. Like in that same moment, it was like really quick.
Yeah.
But since being married, I do believe that the intense fellowship has definitely increased. Yeah. What would you say?
I feel like in the beginning of our marriage, it increased.
100%.
But I feel like the past, I would say 3-4 months, we've been in a good rhythm.
100%.
I don't remember the last time we've had one.
Me either. Like intense. And when we say intense, if we're like, babe, I don't agree, that's not really intense. Intense is like
we beefing.
Intense, like the word.
Like, what's up with you?
Yeah, like
yeah.
I don't even want to sleep next to you in the bed type of. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple of those.
Yes, we've had those. And so that's why we're able to, one, bring it up. And I think also, too, I'm grateful that I saw my parents argue intensely or intense fellowship when I was a kid. So I expected that. But I do believe that unfortunately some people have not seen their parents argue, or so they when they get married they're thinking like, oh, it's supposed to just be sunflowers and rainbows. But in reality, you are. If you don't, I'm kind of concerned if you do not have your moments of intense fellowship, because that's normal. It's human. We're not always going to agree on things. We're not always. So I'm grateful that I was able to see that. So when it happened, it wasn't like, oh, this is the end of the world, but it still don't feel good. But I was prepared for that because I don't think that everyone gets to see that, in their household.
Yeah. Well, I guess like, okay, so we got married. We started having intense fellowships. What were some of the things that you feel like we took away or kind of like put in place so that we can alleviate them from happening as frequent or just when they come?
Okay, so.
And you talked about it too, like our backgrounds. I feel like that's something that's very important because that showed up a lot in the reason why we were responding is
the way in which you responded. That's good.
Like I guess because you talked a little bit about you. So for me, again, I'm an only child, so it's easy for me to just shut down and be in my corner, and just not say anything. But of course, that can lead to, again, you have to be vulnerable, you have to be open, you got to share, you got to communicate what you're feeling. I think oftentimes instead of me like I just didn't like confrontation, or I just didn't feel like I didn't know she was going to respond in the way that I wanted to. I didn't even give her a chance to respond. I was just shut down. And of course, that's not how you are supposed to show up. But that was just something that often led to us having more intense fellowships, because she would get frustrated, like, just talk to me. Like, she would try to shake it out of me. I'm like, bro, get out my face, bro. Like, I ain't even, I don't got no rap for you.
Yeah, and you've grown so much in that. What I think also makes how much the arguments come, the frequency of it less and less,
because I communicate what I desire, what I feel, what's bothering me, what's not bothering me, instead of waiting until the last minute and then you just explode.
100%. So I think that one thing that we've implemented that I truly appreciate is, and I got this from Keon. When I first learned it, when he first brought it to me, I was not a fan. The whole like praying before we have the conversation. Yeah. So, you can feel probably the tension in the house, or something happened. It's like bad when I have a conversation. Now for me, I feel like the defense will go up, like a wall will go up a little bit. Like, all right, well, he about to say something to me that I did wrong. Now I'm like, well, let me make sure I get my list right, what I need to say, and so that he know that Like that's kind of how I started out in the marriage. Like I used to see it as like me against Keon, but we are not against each other. We're together. So when you are having intense fellowship, remind yourself that like we are in this together. It's really us against the enemy. We're not. It's not about me against Keon. It's about us against the enemy, because the enemy sent that thing to be able to cause division, to cause us to be at odds, when we know that God is all about unity. So when we do have these moments, us taking a moment to pray is preparing our minds to be able to come together to low-key like have warfare and be able to say,
with humble hearts.
With a humble heart, and say, look, we've prayed, God, come into this conversation because we need you, because we don't want to stay in this moment of division longer than what is necessary. So praying prior to the conversation is super duper helpful to keep your mind and your heart in the right place, to hear the other person, and for you to be reminded of what we came to even talk about in the first place. Yeah,
I think we might have talked about this earlier too, but not only praying before, but once you get into the conversation and the tension is rising and it's getting really high, like we've gotten to the point where like we might put a fist up, say, hey, we need to take a break, and like we'll come back to this later. And when we come back to it later, like we're going to the side to pray, and we're asking God not only to intervene in our marriage, but also like show us our heart. Like show me my heart in this moment. Like, because I say all the time, like it takes two to tango. It's never been a moment where it was 100% just Destiny's fault. Or it's never been a moment where it was just 100% my fault. Whether I could have responded differently, I could have like showed up differently, or she could have said something. Like it's never one person's fault. So God, what can I have done differently? Show me my heart. And then we come back together. And after you spend that time with God, it's kind of hard to be still turned up after you praying. Yeah. You're like, God, okay, we go back to each other. It's like, all right, babe, I'm sorry about this. Like, God, show me this area. Mm-hmm. Now, what we going to do? And she'll come back and say, I'm sorry, babe. Like, God, show me this area too. All right, let's come together. Let's put something in place so that this doesn't happen again. Because a lot of the reasons why we experience a lot of the friction that we might have earlier is because we were just stepping into a new space we never experienced before. Like we're coming with totally different systems, totally different mindsets, and we have to merge them into one. So what I saw, what I view, or what I thought was supposed to be the right way. She might have had a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
So we come together and we're figuring out, okay, I believe this, you believe this. What is going to be healthiest for us as a union?
Yeah. That's super duper important.
And that's what a lot of our conflict resolution kind of boils down to, is having that conversation. It's like, okay, how do we get from here? How do we prevent this from happening again? How do we extend grace, but also hold each other accountable so that we put a goal in place and we're going to meet that goal?
Yeah, I think a huge thing is, even speaking like with this is what I saw, this is what you saw, being okay with being like, I don't have to only do it this way. So like, or just thinking like, this is how I am. When I talk, I just talk with my hands, and I just talk loud. Like that, your heart is not in a humble place. Like your heart is not open. Your heart, you're not allowing, it's really pride saying like, this is how I am and I'm not changing, and just deal with it. Like who wants to be with someone who's like that, you know? So you really have to take a step back and say like, what do I want this outcome to be? Do I want me and my husband to be on the same page? Do I want us to be aligned? Do I want us to be on one accord? If so, then let me see, okay, me yelling does not work for Keon. So I need to say, okay, Destiny, you can talk in a different way. But if I was like, this is how I am, I've talked like this for 29 years, like, you're going to deal with it, I would never get to him. I would never be able to get through. He wouldn't be able ever to hear me when we have a conversation. So I had to say, Lord, teach me how to, or even asking Keon, I might have said something the wrong way. And I say, well, babe, how would you want me to say that differently next time? Yeah. Or like learning that, okay, my tone needs to come down when I say things like this. But you have to be self-aware to even want to even change how you are.
Again, going back to the humble heart. Yeah,
it takes back to, do I think that you have to accept me, you know, like this, or I have to, but it's when you don't and you think that like, this is how I am, you're really boxing God in and not giving him a chance to do what he said. Like he can transform you. So if I want to grow in this area of my communication, okay, God, help me to grow in this area. Like help me to learn how to properly articulate to my husband how I feel without having to yell, how I feel without having to demean him, how I feel without having to make him feel less than a man. Because God will do that. But you won't even pray that prayer though if you feel like, oh, I'm good, I can just talk to him any way I want to.
That's really good. What do you feel like? Was there like a particular topic that you feel like we battled the most, or do you feel like it was just kind of like, or what was like the reasons behind like majority of our conflict, I guess, would you say?
I think difference of opinions, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like it's just like uncommunicated expectations.
Uncommunicated expectation, or like difference of opinion, or like really, I think uncommunicated expectations, like assuming that you knew that I needed or I wanted something between either of us, and then that caused the argument, or not knowing the necessary capacity that you need from me, or vice versa.
Or understanding the capacity.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of where ours stemmed from. I feel like majority of the time.
Yeah, that's good.
Or even I feel like they might have came from like being in a new season and not expressing like what I thought I knew what you needed, but you changed, and I thought I was doing what you needed me to do, but you bring in the new need to the attention, and then maybe it's causing like friction.
Yeah, I think also too what people talk about a lot in marriages is like your person is always evolving and always growing. But like I really felt like this first year that like we really grew like exponential rates, but we also had to like continue to like, while we're discovering what we need and how we're growing, we also got to communicate that in the midst of the discovery, if that makes sense.
100%.
It's like, so like, yeah, like you supported me in this way last season, but like I'm in a new season and I need this support, but I don't even know how to communicate that because I don't even know what kind of support I need because this is new. So like I can't be frustrated at you because I'm still trying to figure out what I need. Like, this is all new. Yes. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that was something that we discovered too.
Yeah, that could be frustrating on my end because it's like, well, I thought I was supporting you how you needed me to, but now you're saying you need something new, but you're not telling me what you need. So, you know, like, just even me saying it, it's like, now that can make you frustrated. But it's like, again, something that Keon often shares me is like, whenever we have these moments sometimes where I have to say something that isn't, I guess, so exciting, he is always like, he can receive it because he knows like that my heart is for him. So like if I know that Keon's heart is for me, I don't have to be on the defense. If I know that Keon's heart, his intentions are pure, I can receive what he has to say without feeling as though, you know, there's something.
It's an attack.
Like behind it. So I think really knowing your person, knowing their heart, but also again, like Keon said, being okay with being open to like, I don't know what I need right now, but I know I need something different. And then you on the receiving end, not taking that as like, you're not doing a good job, or you're not doing what I need you to do. Because that's kind of, again, how I've taken some of the things previously or prior till now, which then that can also lead to an argument as well.
Yeah. One of the things I've seen too is that like I feel like the enemy like takes an initial thought and then just like what I would like to say like go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Cause like there's certain things that you might communicate or share with your partner. It's like, hey, I just want to see support in this area, and then in your mind you're like, oh man, like if you don't mind me sharing, like in the past you might say like, oh man, that means I'm not a good wife, or like I'm like, babe, like not at all. I think you're amazing. I'm learning that this is what I desire. But the enemy will tell you he don't like you no more, or he mad at you, or all this stuff. It's like it will just go down a deep rabbit hole. So again, like I feel like as couples, like it's important that like when you're communicating, like you set the precedence and the tones, like, hey, like this is just what I desire. Like how can we meet this? Like, is there a way that we can come together and say, all right, like moving forward, I would like to do this, or I would like to see you support a little bit more with the dishes, or I would like to see you supporting da 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 da. Is this something that we can come together and meet? And that alleviates so much.
Yeah.
Other kind of like intense fellowships.
100%.
Moments of that.
100%. And I think that even like I think we spoke to this a little earlier in a relationship episode. Like when we do have our intense fellowship, we don't go, hey girl, this is what happened. What's your opinion?
Man, this Keon, this don't trip.
Yeah, like it's none of that. In order for us to protect our marriage, it's very specific people who we will take these issues to. Our mentors, and maybe other married couples, and we ask each other like, babe, or we'll even end the conversation if it's like a really intense one, like we're not talking to nobody else about this besides Josh and Anastasia, or we'll say like, we'll ask, babe, can I talk about this to Chanel?
Yeah.
Can I talk about this to Joey? Can I talk about this to X person? Like we do ask because again, while we are in this kind of like vulnerable state, we have to ensure that we are keep still in this vulnerable state. We have to be covering our person still. Not because I'm mad at you now, I want to just be like, talk bad about him. No. Even while I'm mad, I still need to cover my husband and vice versa. Yeah.
Even though we've had a few intense fellowships, I feel like the work we've done around that kind of alleviates. Like we go through seasons, like we go through 4 or 5 good months, and then we might have like a week where we, seeing odds, and it will be right back. But like I feel like a lot of that has to do with one, both of us are in therapy individually. I feel like also we do Sunday communication, like our communication commandments where we meet every Sunday. A lot of that alleviates things from building up, so it takes away from it growing. And also too, like again, like we got mentors, like so I feel like so much work that we do on the outside, we haven't really experienced too many intense fellowships except for just the normal of just you're just naturally growing with somebody.
Yeah, I think the ones that we have had, the few ones that were like super duper intense, I think that me and Keon always say like when we do get over those humps, it's like you said, kind of like you win in a basketball game. Like you just have so much like, oh my gosh, like we're back.
I feel even closer.
We're back into our jam. Like we're not like, because who wants to be, like tussling or like coming in the house quiet, hey, hi, kiss, you know what I'm saying? Like that whole like when we beefing, like I don't want to be mad at you. I don't want to be beefing, but like I do believe that those moments are necessary, and I will hope that someone who might not have seen their parents argue, that they feel, or like is not used to confrontation, that they would begin to grow comfortable to express to their person like, this is what I feel. I feel like this, and that their partner can receive what they feel without demeaning them, because that also can lead to like to intense fellowship. Like even how you receive your person when they're telling you something not so happy, not exciting news about what you did or how they feel, being able to welcome their emotions and their feelings. I think even to that, like or do you want to say something about that?
I was, but you go ahead.
I was gonna speak about like me having a girl like in empathy.
Ooh, okay, before we go there, because that's the type of, I do want to touch on, and this is another thing. I know this, I talked about this last time. I learned a lot at your parents' marriage wedding.
Period. Shout out to my parents.
That was really good. But another thing that I heard from your father, he was talking about how like they're really intentional about like not letting the beef or the intensity like go prolong itself. Like they try to nip it in the bud as soon as possible, because tomorrow's not promised, bro. And I would hate myself for us to something to happen, God forbid, and we ended in a space where we were beefing or we wasn't seeing eye to eye. So that's why we try to do our best to like knock stuff out as much as possible. Have as many hard conversations as possible. Call them whatever we got to do to get back in the healthy space that we know we ultimately operate in, because you just never know. And people are losing their life left and right, and things are just happening. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I knew we ended in a way where we wasn't in our normal healthy space.
Yeah, no, that's really important. And even a little before I go into the empathy, being okay with being like, hey, if y'all are in a tough tension moment and it lasts longer than what it should be, it's okay to go to marriage counseling.
Yeah, wait that red flag.
Yes, people often are like, well, we got married, we should be able to figure it out by ourselves. God didn't want anybody to do life alone. You're supposed to have community and be with people. So if you cannot figure it out amongst your person, look out, search for someone who you feel like they can assist you guys. Because I feel like sometimes when you stay in that area, that can then, like you said, it festers and then it causes other things to happen, which, divorce is not something that is exciting at all, but it could take one small thing and now I'm mad at you and then X, Y, Z. So be okay with asking or reaching out for help.
Nice.
But I want to speak to the whole me lacking empathy thing.
Wow.
And how I've had to grow in that, and how me previously not being as empathetic definitely affected our communication, which also could affect the intense fellowship. So I would be responding like hard and not like I'm hearing Keon or responding.
D is a beautiful prayer warrior straight from the Lord himself, but she also got a little Chester in her.
Yes.
A little gangster.
Yes.
I like that. I love
Amen.
that about you.
We appreciate that.
But but sometimes you just gotta like
balance.
Yeah.
And so I had to grow in the fact that, or even I really had to honestly understand that my responses to Keon when we argued were not always from a place of where I was trying to understand him. It was just trying to like win an argument, or like I had up a wall that would cause me to respond to him in our intense fellowships in a hard way. But I had to, again, become self-aware to see myself and say, you know what? When I'm communicating with Keon, it's not giving like love and excitement. It's giving like argue, like just hard. And I had
like
to.
I'm an op.
Yeah. And he can't be like, babe, you're talking to me like I'm an op. Like you're not talking to me like I'm your husband. And when I would hear that, it would be like, oh, that don't sound too good. You know, like that don't feel good.
After we finish, we'll be in the bed. She be like, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Like,
and what's funny is like Keon has not been the first person to share with me like that. Sometimes you're lacking empathy. My sisters have shared that with me before in the past. And I think for me, when I'm hearing something more than one time, I want to take heed to it so that I can change that thing. But hearing it from him, it really hit home because it was like, I don't want you to feel like, when we're having an argument that I'm talking to you in such a manner that is making you feel like we're not even like almost married almost. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, being able to hear and welcome the not so amazing things about yourself in order to, again, make the marriage better.
Yeah. That's good.
Oh, thanks.
I don't even know what to follow up after that. That's really good. I appreciate your honesty too. Like that's helpful because I know there's some people who may struggle with that.
100%. And I think that, again, being okay with confrontation, being okay with arguing, it is healthy.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Like, intense fellowships is not. There's a huge negative connotation with that. Of course, there's a way of how you respond, but we wouldn't be in a space that we're in now if it wasn't for the conflict that we experienced and how we was able to maneuver and come together and figure out how we're going to come to and put things in place so that it doesn't happen again. That makes our relationship stronger. So we appreciate those mountains that I tell her all the time. Anytime we come, we're like, all right, babe, it's another mountain. We got to figure out how we're going to climb it. Yeah. And once we get over that mountain, it's like, all right, let's go. We together. It's going to be another mountain in the future. Yeah. And once we get to that, we come together, figure something else, and then put it in place.
Yeah, I think they always go easier when we focus on a solution and not like your point of view, my point of view. But when we're solution based, it makes the intense fellowship go quicker, smoother, all that kind of jazz.
Yeah. Did you have any questions from this one?
I didn't have any. Did you have some?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Got it. Are there any myths about arguments or intense fellowships that we would want to debunk?
I think kind of we just spoke to it, like that arguing is bad. It's not. It's healthy for you actually. So be open to it. I think that's the biggest one I can think about is that argument is bad. Or like if you argue, that means that your marriage is falling apart. Like no, that's natural. It's very human. Yeah. You do it with your brothers and sisters. You do it with your friends. Sometimes like
we talked about this. We talked about this the other day though. Particularly with dating. If y'all arguing every day,
that's a different story.
Please break up. Like this is not. Like, don't hold on to something that's not there.
That's a red flag.
Because you want to be married, because you see everybody's getting married. Like maybe we could just like work it through. That is not normal. Okay.
Yeah.
You should not be arguing every day. You miserable every time you see that person's phone. Their name pop up on the phone. Like, oh God. We about to get into another argument. Right. Leave them. You're just connected because of soul ties.
110%. So be cautious of that.
Yeah, be cautious of that.
Be cautious.
All right. Next one. How do you ensure that conflicts are addressed in a way that strengthens your relationship rather than causing division?
Awesome. And we spoke to that too, kind of like, I think the praying before helps 110%.
Yeah, for sure.
Praying before, it honestly sets the foundation for the argument. So I do believe that. And I think also continuously remembering that it's not you against him or him against you. It's us against this thing. When you keep that in the forefront, it really helps with any type of division, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you hit one of those.
Yeah.
Just praying together and strengthening.
And remembering consistently that I'm not arguing against you. And when you think about, like, who's right, who's wrong, again, throw that out. No, we're not focusing on that.
That's what's best for the marriage.
What is going to be the solution that's going to be best for the both of us? That's it.
Amen.
That's all.
Now, that's pretty much concludes our episode. Now, if you have any questions regarding intense fellowships or just conflict or things that we didn't get a chance to touch on this episode, feel free to drop it in the comments on this page, on our Instagram page, even on the YouTube page as well. We want to ensure we address those things, hear from you all, and just, again, connect with you all as our audience because this is what this is about.
Yep. So be sure, again, to
like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you on our last episode.
It's already the last one.
Next week.
But we got some surprises after this season. We got some things in store.
So more reason for you to be commenting, and subscribing.
Make sure y'all stay connected, man, because y'all want to miss anything.
We got some good things coming. Thank y'all.
See ya. Peace.